we have now two learned speaker today with us who will be deliberating on very, very important aspects of the rationale behind evolving, on the relevance under this scenario of the net zero emission target, how the FGD implementation will be helpful. So I now hand over to Swapan Chakarborty ji for deliberation on this issue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, the organizer, Center for Enviro Excellence, for giving such an opportunity. My dear fellow panelists and other participants who are also been part of this session. I have been hearing since morning regarding this FGD implementation program, and various speakers, panelists have dwelt on. At the same time, the last session was very interesting, where there were questions raised whether this plan has to be revisited or a midterm review is essential. So I will try to address, I will try to bring a different perspective in my presentation, and then I can hear from you what we should do going forward. So as the topic says, its relevance under the present scenario of NZE. Now, NZE stands for net zero emission, which is a buzzword used all across the globe, and particularly in the power industry. What is the? I will touch upon the preamble. That is the climate change. India's active participation in COP. COP means Conference of Parties. Summits organized under the frame of United Nations Climate Change Program. As various COP annual summits, the need to reduce the global warming is discussed. And in COP 26, important resolutions came out that we need to contain the temperature rise and bring it back to the pre-industrial era in order to safeguard this planet. So this is the preamble, this is the background against which I will be delivering my session. Now, the executive summary I would like to highlight to all the participants that we know that the government of India announced since December 2015 the new policy for abatement of SOx and NOx. Indian's coal is sulfur content in Indian coal is very low, around 0.4% by weight. But considering the imported coal or the high sulfur content used in some Indian power plants, SO2 abatement program was initiated. Because that point of time we thought of having blending of coal, which is now been prohibited because we cannot import coal, which is very, very costly. So as per the directive, we are supposed to use the Indian coal for the power plants. The SO2 program was implemented, started around the end of 2017, NTPC being the front runner to implement FGD in the old and new coal-based power plants. So the policy came in 2015, 2 years of homework was done, how to implement this policy, and then the first tendering process started. See, the cutoff date has been revised twice. Now it is 2026 December, which was earlier 2023. Now, approximately there are 50 plants where this program implementation is going on. The NOx, which is also a part of this abatement program, has now been taken a back seat in the sense that no SCR is going to be installed. Now only the furnace burner combustion modification is being done to meet the level of NOx to 350 ppm at 6% O2 level. Now, once the program was announced, now I see we saw a plethora of issues. The program implementation seems not a natural process, but a forced implementation. That has been there because there's a timeline, there was harakiri. Everybody started jumping on the fray and trying to meet the government deadline, otherwise to face the penalties. So it is not a natural process like we have been doing. If we have done that in the way the Europeans and other countries have done, it is a natural process. But here there is a very steep timelines and much work has to be done. The available infrastructure is inadequate considering the asking rate of equipments and machinery is required. See, we had to install to so many plants, which will show you in the subsequent slides the status of implementation. We have to do a lot, but we don't have so much of resources. These particular items, gypsum diverting system, slurry recirculation pump, C276 cladding plate, limestone grinding, agitator, both side and top entry, are the major items which the supply chain in India is not established. Even now, I don't think it is established. We are still dependent on foreign supplies. Then further added to the problem was the epidemic, COVID-19, started in March 2020. Entire supply chain got disrupted, coupled with steep rise in price of raw material. See, as a implementer who is going to implement this, has to see a lot of price rise and a lot of other factors which came into the implementation program, and that's why it completely got derailed. Now, further plethora of issues, what I wanted to wanted to address here is the imports were restricted due to geopolitical scenario. Without mentioning any name of the country, we know the imports were totally restricted. Labor force not available and ready to come for work in affected areas on account of COVID. And as I have been working with Mitsubishi, I know I have been a part of the plant in Maharashtra, and Maharashtra being one of the worst affected state, there was no labor force ready to come to that place. Because of the fear, they may get entangled, they may not be able to leave the site. And as you all know, the hospital and the medical facilities provided were not adequate. And so there is a lot of fear psychosis among the laborers to join the particular sites. Commodity prices increased multifold, resulting huge cost overrun towards the project implementation on account of war erupted between Russia and Ukraine. See, we have been struggling with the COVID, then this war came in 2021, and which has further aggravated the situation. The diesel, which was petrol, which was 70 rupees, 80 rupees, went to 110, 15 rupees. So you can understand not only this copper, zinc, every commodity price went up 700, 800 times. Actual project implemented so far is only about 10% of the plan undertaken by the central sector. See, 2015 we started, now we're in 2023. In 8 years, only 10% of the plan has been implemented. And to my knowledge, all other projects are getting delayed immensely because of this cost overrun problem. The state units are delayed in the implementation program. Very few state units like Gujarat or Maharashtra has taken up some lead, but most of the state units are not sitting on the fence and trying to observe what the policy government takes going forward. The status of the program implementation is that only 10% of the project has been implemented, and the states are not ready to implement at this point of time. If you see this picture, this is a CE report of May 2023. You can see the last the column in the top, that out of 1,430 megawatt of plants which are ordered out, only 9,200 has been implemented. So this makes the point that 10% only has been done, and going forward, how many plants are going to come up, that we need to see. And this slide talks about India's mix about power source. If you see in this slide, we are going to have that now in India, the present scenario of March 23, we can say we are around 415 gigawatt of electricity generating capacity we have got, which is a mix of, if we see the breakup, 57% is non-fossil fuel and 43% is fossil fuel. 57 is fossil fuel, 43 is non-fossil fuel. But going forward, around 2030, having 4 different scenarios, if I take the high best, that means battery energy storage scenario is evolving, then we have around the non-fossil fuel is going to increase to 55 and fossil fuel to 44. So the energy mix of most of the plants are going to be we are going forward, that is in 2030. But further, if you go down the line, we are going to have the non-fossil fuel source of energy to be more predominant in our energy mix. Next, now there is a paradigm shift happened in COP26. COP26 happened in 2021, and the entire scenario, whatever we have been talking about, has been changed now. COP26 introduced net zero emission, and for India, the target is 2070. We are in 2023. We also know, as somebody has pointed out, that FGD has got a chemical reaction, exothermic, and CO2 is evolved, which is shown in this equation. Gas to absorbent, sorbent, when you do, there is a CO2 getting evolved. And we go the forced oxidation, whereas calcium sulfite is getting converted calcium sulfate. Further, government is taking up a mission that biomass also will be fired into the along with the coal to reduce the CO2 emission. Now it is 10%. Going forward, it will going to be 30%. And already there is a national level mission going on to adopt this. The process of achieving NZE is gradual, and the older power plants will retire in another 10 years, 8 years already passed from the Gazette announcement. See, NZE is not that today I am net positive, tomorrow I become net negative. NZE is a journey, is a very difficult journey we have to take, and it will take time. And if we in the subsequent slides, I'll show you, we don't have much of time to act upon if we still want to achieve that NZE target. The plants will not be fit for operation considering the high heat rate, because we know the SABs and most of the plants have got a very high heat rate, and they are not going to be fit for the operation in the coming days. This is an important slide. If you can see that India, this is a report which McKinsey has published, that India is having the least per capita CO2 emission, 1.8 tons. But you talk about the overall, because of the total population, it is very high. And presently at 2020, it stands around 2.9 gigatons. If you don't do anything, this will go to 11.8 gigatons, which is not the intention or any way we can afford to have such a high level of gigatons of carbon generated. So what government has done, government and other agencies, those who are working, they are going to this 2.9 by around 25, 26, they want to make it to 3.4 gigatons. And then if you see the line of sight, there is a blue line, it goes to 1.9 gigatons at the end of 2070. And if you take a further deep dive, if you go further decarbonization, if we do, then you can go to a level of 0.04. So that leaves behind a space of 287 gigatons of carbon space in India, which is almost 50% of the target what has been kept to contain the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees C by 2050. So all these things clearly shows that we need to act from now at we are in 2023, 2030 we have to be 3.4, and then gradually we have to come down. We take the line of sight or we take the deep dive we take to bring it down to 0.4. But all this thing doesn't come free. For the blue one, we need to expend around $7 trillion to upgrade our technology and have it futuristic, self-dependent, low cost of energy. And if we take the other one, the brown one, we may have to go to $12 billion of $12 trillion of investment. So this is what is more important, what we should do now to go for this green hydrogen or some other methods of achieving the net ZE than to go for that FGD implementation and spending huge money on that, for which we will not have much of a gain going forward in order to make this NZE program. So this is the conclusion I wanted to draw. I wanted to draw, I want to bring it to your kind attention that what the policy makers needs to do, And nothing is fixed in this world, because as the world is evolving very fast, we know how things are changing all over the country, all over the world, in our country, also in the world. So also we need to look at the implementation program, and the midterm review has to be done. I need to see that whether we spend this money or we spend money on something else which will be more futuristic, make us self-reliant, and also reduce the cost of power. So with this, I wanted to say thank you. I conclude my presentation.
Mr. Tyagi, you need to unmute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swapan Chakarborty, for very crisp and very to the point presentation. And you have invoked a very, very deep thought to review the policy as such, particularly in the older plants, and considering all aspects into totality in wholesomeness, the addition of the other pollutants, including CO2, gypsum, and during the transportation of the lime and gypsum disposal. So there is a need of review this policy, considering also the sulfur content in the coal and total lifespan of the thermal power plant and location also. And Ministry of Power and Ministry of Environment certainly need a brainstorming, having the core experts together, because sometime when they discuss a policy matter in one-to-one only in top authorities, or I should say the administrators, not the technologists even, then such decisions are taken. And they are not aware of whole issues involved in such decision making. And I also think the decision on FGD also seems one of them. So it needs more deliberations among the core experts of the industry who have more knowledge and they know much better all the issues in wholesomeness. So with this, I thank you for elaborating various related issues with the FGD. However, the question remains unsolved. How this will be helpful to the net zero emission? So that
you are right.
That to be replied.
Because holistically, we are not thinking, we are thinking one off case. But if you think of the whatever the guidelines you have got for COP26, it is very, very stringent. And if you don't do, our steel industry, our petroleum industry, our everything will be costlier coming days, because they will impose carbon tax. So our steels will not be sellable. So everything, everywhere, the energy what you use, if it is not a green energy, there will be tax on that, and that tax will make our products costlier going forward. So we need to act. Thank you, sir, for your